How's everyone doing? Happy good afternoon to you. Friday, September 1st, 2023. Uh, just some thoughts that been coming into my mind the last week or two. I've seen 12 presidents. I've been alive for 12, well, actually 13 presidents. I was an infant when Eisenhower was in office, but I remember John Kennedy just barely. I remember the funeral of JFK. That's about all I remember. But then I remember the people after that, LBJ. I remember Nixon, you know, and I remember what happened to Nixon and the Watergate scandal, the Watergate tapes, and he had broken the law. So he left office, and I remember that. But then on through the entire row of 12 presidents that I basically remember, Nixon, and then it was Ford, Gerald Ford, who used to come up here and play golf in Vail, Colorado, maybe 100 miles from here. And then there was Carter, Jimmy Carter. That was the first vote I cast, was for Jimmy Carter, Democrat. And then I learned my lesson there. I sat back and watched Carter and his just sort of lackadaisical, non-caring attitude about America and Americans. And gas prices shot up, inflation shot up. The Iran hostage situation happened in '79, and Carter seemed so inept. He just didn't know what to do. He seemed very inept as a president, like a nice guy, but the office of president was more than he could handle. He just seemed like he was inept. He was too inept for the world stage. Had no what is it, chutzpah, what for, it seemed like. And so I've never voted for a Democrat since, because to me, Carter kind of messed up the economy. And that's the first time I remember gas lines and inflation like we're seeing right now, the type of inflation we're seeing right now with Biden. Then after Carter, of course, it was Reagan for 2 terms. And I remember the Reagan years. And it seemed like, the whole nation had just turned around, during the Reagan years. And the economy during his term began to turn around. And because Reagan was a pro-capitalist, pro-free markets guy, unlike Carter. And I sat back and watched Reagan too, and I'm like, wow, it took a while, but this guy's policies seemed to be working. And he got ridiculed by Democrats as being, not helping the poor, et cetera, which is a bunch of nonsense, because his economy turned out to be very good, really good. Then after Reagan, there was Bush 1, and frankly, I voted for Bush 1, and I wasn't really quite sure what to think about him, but he seemed sort of like a namby-pamby kind of guy too, even though he was a Republican. As it turns out, I think Bush Sr. was a New World Order guy, globalist, New World Order acolyte. I recall his New World Order speech, where he said, we will have a New World Order, and it's going to happen. And in light of what we've seen in the last few years, I doubt if I'd vote for a Republican like Bush 1 again. Then after Bush 1, it was Clinton, who was a Democrat, pro-abortion. By that time, I was extremely pro-life, hardcore pro-life, against abortion, and I was completely against Clinton's policies of you know, making abortion more and more available. Of course, back in those days, they used to couch it in words like abortion should be legal, safe, and rare. And as it turned out, abortion is neither rare nor safe since then. And then after Clinton, another thing I want to talk about with Bill Clinton is that he enacted the first assault weapons ban in this country in 90, was it 90, 91, 92, something like that. First assault weapons ban Clinton brought in, by the way, which was also brought in under a bill that one Joe Biden brought up. It was in a larger bill, but the first assault weapons ban was enacted. And what I remember about that is that 7 years later, Columbine happened. Under Bill Clinton's assault weapons ban, you couldn't buy like an AR-15. You couldn't buy like a semi-automatic Tech 9 type gun and everything. But then Columbine happened, which was not very far from the church I once played at. And they used a Tech 9 gun. They were able to get it somehow. And it made me realize that Bill Clinton's assault weapons ban was useless. These assault weapons, these gun bans don't do nothing to stop criminals or mass murderers that want to do, a lot of killing. They don't stop these crazy, insane people. Gun bans don't work because all gun bans do is take guns out of good people's hands. There are millions and millions of guns in this country owned by lawful gun owners under the Second Amendment. And then when Democrats enact gun bans, it only takes guns away from good people. And what Democrats can't seem to ever get through their heads, they can never get this through their heads. Criminals don't obey gun laws. I don't know why you can't seem to understand that. Mass shooters like Klebold and Harris, murderers, criminals, gangbangers, do you think they obey gun laws? Really? It's ridiculous. The only people that obey gun laws are the law-abiding. But then you have gangbangers and MS-13 and people that want to do mass shootings. They don't obey gun laws. They laugh at those signs on the outside of schools or colleges. They laugh at them that say, "No guns allowed in this school. This is a gun-free school zone," and they chuckle at that. And yet you can't seem to get that through Democrats' heads. These killers aren't going to obey your laws. Then, of course, after Clinton was Bush 2, George Bush 2, and I voted for him. He said he was pro-life, and some of his policies were okay. But then we had September 11th, and he had to deal with that. For the first time in America since Pearl Harbor, our own shores had been attacked by Islamic mass killers, and they did a lot of damage. Some kids today, they weren't even born yet when September 11th happened. They weren't even alive yet, hadn't even been born. But people my age and anybody that's 35, 38 years old plus remembers 9/11 and the just the shock of it. It was shocking. 9/11, and jammed those airplanes into the World Trade Center, and it was just shocking. It shocked the nation, shocked the world, killed 3,000 people. And then we have people like AOC, Ocasio-Cortez, and Ilhan Omar. People that say, well, something happened on September 11th. Some people did something. Are you kidding me? I mean, you can see how these people think about Americans when they say stuff like that. They don't give a crap about us. They're on the enemy's side, and yet they get elected. She said, well, some people did something on 9/11. What a joke. And yet these people are in Congress. Then after Bush 2, of course, it was Obama. And I recognized him for who he was right away. A slick talking, very charismatic, smiling, charismatic liar. And Obama's policies became pretty clear right away. Democrats loved him because he was the first black man ever elected, even though he's only part black. His father was a communist. His mother was a communist. And he has the same leanings. I recognized Obama immediately, that he was a plant. He got in and was a Marxist. It was pretty obvious to those of us who've been watching politics for a long time. And Obama's policies hurt my own family. His Obamacare took my own autistic son's health care plan away. We got a letter in 2013 said, your son's health care plan is going away. We had a pretty good Kaiser plan for my son. And the Obamacare people said, well, that's going bye-bye because it doesn't fit our parameters. Therefore, you now have to buy an Obamacare plan for your son. And so Obama's policies messed up my own family. And then people wonder why I'm so angry. Then people wonder why the Tea Party happened, in 2011, 2012. Because we knew who Obama was. He was a slick talking deceiver. And to this day, I talk to Democrats and they just think he was he was like the second coming of Christ almost. And they worshiped him too. Yeah, that's right. Democrats worshiped Obama while claiming that we worship Trump. I saw a lot of Democrats that worshiped Obama, and that's a fact. I saw how they just ogled at, they were just in his presence. It was like, oh my God, he's so cool. And then Democrats have the audacity to say that we worship Trump. No, you worshiped Obama. And then I watched other policies of Obama. He used the ATF and FBI to raid the CEO of Gibson Guitars. They raided his plant because he's a Republican and donated to Republican causes. And Obama used the ATF to raid the Gibson guitar plant. And at that point, I knew, wow, that's the first time I've seen something like this. A president using the FBI and the ATF to go after political enemies. That was the first sign that I saw, wow, this Obama character is, I think he's a Marxist, and I'll stick to that too. He's a Marxist. When he said change was coming to America, most people had no idea what he was talking about. And then over the next 8 years, we'd hear him badmouth cops. He would badmouth the military. He would badmouth Christians. He badmouthed America in general and just said we're a racist country. And yet, here's a black man that got elected to the presidency. What a hypocrite he is, Obama. He's the guy that divided our country, not Trump. Trump was the reaction to Obama's radical Marxist policies. Obama divided us, not Trump. That's a fact. That's a fact. Obama's radical Marxist policies and the way he talked about Americans and the way he talked about the military and the police. He badmouthed cops at the funeral of 5 dead cops in Dallas. I saw Obama for who he was right away, and recognized it. That's like, wow, this guy is anti-American. And then, of course, after Obama was the reaction to his Marxist policies, and that was Trump. Trump, a American nationalist, believes in the idea of America, was elected, and it shocked the left. It shocked the Democrats, just shocked them. They thought Hillary for sure was going to win. I mean, in their egotistical arrogance, they believed that, oh, well, Hillary's easily going to win over this guy. And Trump ended up winning because Americans were fed up with the left-wing Marxist policies of Democrats. And in Trump's term, he began to initiate America First policies. America First policies concerning energy. He began enacting policies of the free market. Let the markets do their thing. When you take the government, you get rid of the government off of the free market and capitalist type system. You release that engine of economic power. Of course, leftists, Democrats hate that because they love government. They love government intrusion in companies. They love government intrusion in any companies that they think are, aren't Marxist enough or aren't socialist enough. But by then, we were already beginning to see what Obama's policies had wrought and his ideology. Young people were getting more and more radical. We were beginning to see, the day after, 2 days after Trump was elected, we saw people beginning to burn cars and cause riots in different cities. Just after Trump got elected, the left had unleashed their stormtroopers. Hillary began talking about a rebellion, saying we are the resistance. She was she's appealing to the Star Wars generation, the young kids, saying we are the resistance, we are the resistance. Hillary's smart, she's wicked, but she's smart. She was talking to the young people, we are the resistance, we're going to resist Trump, Oh, because Trump was such a bad man, He made the economy better. He tried to stop and slow down abortion. He was going to try and build the wall and was beginning to do that. Got about 600 miles done, but he had so much Democrat backlash to it that it was difficult for him to get that done. And then they impeached Trump twice. I've never seen anything like it. I've seen 12 presidents, and I've never seen anything like what I'm seeing right now, what the Democrats are doing. They began to go after Trump like, nothing like I'd ever seen. During his presidency, the 2 impeachments, which came up to nothing. Then they did the Russian collusion. Hillary and her cabal came up with that big lie, and it was a big lie. It's been found out now. The Durham report shows it. The entire Russian collusion, saying that Trump was working with Russians to mess up the election, was a complete and utter bald-faced lie. And now here we are, and the 2020 election happened. Biden was elected, or selected, I think. I think more selected. I watched the election on election night, and Trump was ahead in states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia. He was way ahead. He was way ahead. I mean, like, what was it, about a million votes? He was ahead in some of those swing states. And then all of a sudden, at like 3 o'clock in the morning, oh, wow, all these votes are changing. What's going on? I think we know what's going on. I've never witnessed anything like what I'm seeing now. And now we have the Democrats, who are more like Marxist, socialist, communist, operatives. They might as well be the KGB as far as I'm concerned. And I was in communist Poland back in '86. I saw real communism. As far as I'm concerned, the Democrats right now are acting like that. They have like a KGB, and they have these judges and DAs across the nation that George Soros has installed, and they're taking turns indicting Trump and trying to arrest him, so that, trying to keep him from running again. And yet his popularity in polls just keep rising. I've never seen anything like this. And now they've arrested Trump. It's astonishing. In 13 presidents, I have never seen anything like this. One party weaponizing the Department of Justice and the FBI and other agencies against a former president. It's like mind-boggling. Never seen it. I've seen stuff like this in foreign countries, and I've played in foreign countries a lot. I played in Pinochet's fascist Chile in '84. That was a fake government. And then in Poland in '86, and that was another fake government. And the thing about the communists or the fascists, what they do with the opposition is they arrest them. They use the press to, spew a ton of propaganda, which is exactly what we're seeing right now. You people that listen to ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, you're listening to propaganda, and most of you don't know it, but you are. I've seen propaganda. I saw it in communist China in 2009. All day long, the Chinese TV, all they do is play, people marching, the People's Army marching down, and all the weaponry that they have, and it's all propaganda, man, 24/7. I saw what Chinese TV was like. And then over there, when I was over there, I'd get on the internet and I would start typing something, because as a Westerner, I had the freedom to get onto Facebook and say stuff. But they warned us beforehand. They said, well, when you get on Facebook and you do that, be careful what you say. Well, I wasn't too careful, and I would just say stuff like, wow, they don't have real freedom over here. Or I'd be typing in my hotel room in Beijing, like, wow, the communists, they had a big whoop-de-doo party last night, but the common people weren't allowed in. It was just for the elitists. Or I'd say stuff like, Christians over here have to be very careful what they say, what they do. And you know what? They'd shut my computer off. That's how much they were monitoring what I was saying. And now we're seeing that here in the U.S. over the last few years. The Democrats would love it if they could just totally, rule over all media, over all social media, and kick off all conservatives and all Republicans. They would love it if they could just completely rule all of social media and all of media. But in America, we still have a free press. Barely. Barely. But a lot of you just, you keep going to those same outlets of CNN and MSNBC and ABC, NBC, CBS, and listening to that same stupid propaganda. Mindless. You keep voting Democrat. All these attacks on Trump, and almost all of them were just lies. And yet the propaganda is working, isn't it? It's working. For the people that vote Democrat and for the people that just watch MSNBC and CBS, it's like talking to a zombie. It's like talking to a zombie. You can't even cut through the propaganda, the brainwashing that they've inculcated. Can't even get through it. It's just Trump is a bad man. Trump is a bad man. And I'm like, well, what about your president? He was doing deals through his son's front companies, getting his 10%, making a bunch of money illegally. That's all going to come out. What are you going to do then when that all comes out? And they impeach Biden, and you find out that he's more corrupt than you ever thought Trump was. What are you going to do then? Anyway, that's what I've seen as somebody that's 64, almost 65, and I remember 12 presidents. That's how I'm seeing things. I was a Democrat back in the 70s, became very much more conservative in the 80s and 90s and through there. And I'm still conservative. I'm still pro-life. I still think like that. I think a man is a man, a woman is a woman. Today, if you say stuff like that, you get the wokeists attack you while they claim to be tolerant and coexisting. The people on the left are the least tolerant, least coexisting people I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to start arresting everybody that's a conservative. They're going to start arresting, conservative, pro-life people, Christians. What are they going to start arresting us? You better think about which side you're on, and what may be coming. Food for thought. Out.